Plenty of Man United transfer news on Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Scott McTominay. Wan-Bissaka, did I say that?
Yeah, don't worry, you'll spit it out. Try again.
I've got to say Mazraoui as well later on. I might have to just call him Mazza.
It's not 11:30 at night, son.
But news on Wan-Bissaka, Scott McTominay, and anything and everything that you want to talk about. So get it in the chat, Reds, and we will try and discuss. But yeah, your first thoughts on these reports with Wan-Bissaka and West Ham, and that a deal really hasn't progressed in terms of a transfer fee.
No, this transfer keeps going on and on and on. 1 minute it's on, the next thing you know, the news is just dead on it. It just seems to keep recurring, coming back, going away. I think what's going on here, I think this is what you call a game of chicken, and I think West Ham are playing with Man United here. This might go right to the final day of the transfer period. So at the end of the day, I see West Ham playing a game of chicken here. They know Manchester United want the money. They don't want to pay it. And to me, Aaron Wan-Bissaka wants to go to West Ham. So they've got the upper hand, as I see it, West Ham. So looking forward now, Man United, do they want to take some money, or do they just want Aaron Wan-Bissaka to run out his contract next year and then get nothing?
Yeah, I have seen reports mentioning West Ham are only willing to pay £10 million. United are wanting a minimum of 15 million. Do you think 10 million's about right, or do you think Man United are just trying to squeeze as much as they can out?
I don't think 10 million's quite right. I really like Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think he's a great one-on-one defender. I think he's well worth 15 million minimum. I actually think he's worth more than that, but that's only my opinion. I think the club policy, buying and selling, it's interesting to see what's going on here. Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the men in suits now, they've set a policy. West Ham straight away are trying to batter them. But I look at West Ham of the history of dealing with Man United, and there has always been carnage, recriminations, arguments and everything, especially in the Fergie years, and it just seems to be going on. This time last year was in the same boat with Harry Maguire. So West Ham are having a go at Man United and they're pushing him. They don't want to be had over. 10 million, that's it. Last day of the transfer season, I think, window, I think.
Yeah, but it'd probably suit the player a lot more if he just runs down his contract, get a bigger salary. And it's probably, what is he now, 26 years old, Wan-Bissaka?
Yeah, something like that.
So it's probably his last big opportunity at a contract as well. And he might be thinking of things like that, of, I'll just sit here at Manchester United for a year, then go somewhere on a free.
I would say that with some players, but I'm not going to say it with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think he just wants to go back to London. Obviously, we heard about Inter Milan coming in for him, and I was surprised when I heard that. I thought that's not the club he wants. I don't think he wants to go abroad. I've always seen it that he wants to go back to London. He's a London boy, and that's where he wants to go. The money, I'm not too worried about the money. I think he'll get a decent contract at West Ham. And he's back where he wants to be.
Yeah, for me, I don't think Wan-Bissaka wants to actually move to West Ham. I actually think he probably feels he could maybe get to a bigger club than West Ham. And I know a lot of West Ham fans out there, if you're watching, you won't like me saying that. But I actually personally believe he'd like to maybe move to a bigger club, Wan-Bissaka.
No, I think West Ham will be fine for him. I think it will suit him. I look at Jared Bowen, and I've mentioned it before. I think them two, it'll be really exciting. No, I don't look at it as though like West Ham are a small club or a big club. I think the move is right for him. I think it'll be a perfect fit for him. That's how I see it in its entirety. And looking at West Ham, you know, I've got to look at if he goes to West Ham, I think the most important, not important, but the interesting thing about it, especially from my point of view, I feel he's a great one-on-one defender. We all know he's not the greatest going forward, but he wouldn't have to be great going forward with Jared Bowen there. And then I just look at it and think, Man United playing West Ham next year, Garnacho, Marcus Rashford, up against a player who I regard as one of the best one-on-one defenders, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That is something I would like to see. And West Ham are trying to be a big, big club, but they'll never be a big club until they all admit, right, that they're a tourist attraction. And that's what they are. That's what they're becoming. Manchester United were accused of like being that with the prawn sandwiches and everything, but that's the way West Ham are going, and that's why I think they'll start moving up the table.
Yeah, like you say, if you look at the actual centre halves, the full-backs that we've actually got, there'd be a debate out there to say that Wan-Bissaka is probably our best one-on-one defender at the club, and he gives you something different by having that attribute as well, and we'd be losing that by letting him go.
I mean, I've listened. Well, I've seen comments and I've listened to people. I've spoke to many people, and I think he'll be a massive miss. I do. I actually think he'll be a massive miss. When he's come up and the team has been solid and they've all worked together, there is no one better than Aaron Wan-Bissaka working at the back. We've seen what he did. Just go back to the last game against Manchester City at Wembley. Absolutely perfect. And he was under pressure 90 minutes. And I've seen games like that. So to me, I think it'll be a massive loss. I don't want him to go. There's a few other people who don't want him to go. But 15 million, and that's why I think 15 million pound, what it's being quoted United want, I think that's a way undervaluation for him.
Yeah, looking at Mazraoui's stats, I think I might just call him Mazza, to be honest with you, a lot easier on the tongue twister. And going forward with his possession, retrieving the ball back as well in the attacking third, he has got some high stats, but I've seen some stats as well about his injury record, and I've seen one from 2022. He's only played 38 league games for Bayern Munich.
Yeah, I think when you look at stats, if you're a stat man, that's fine. You can use stats for your own agenda and all that. I just look at him and I think to myself, is he an upgrade on Aaron Wan-Bissaka? And I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. I mean, I look at it, he's only coming in here if Aaron Wan-Bissaka goes, and they believe Aaron Wan-Bissaka is going to go and that they'll offload him. They're just hanging on for the money. But I just look at it and think to myself, I would prefer to keep him for the year and let him walk out for what they're going to get. If they're going to get the £10 million from West Ham and Man United accept that, I would, honestly I would, prefer to keep him for the year and let him walk out.
Yeah, it'd be interesting as well. You're looking at Mazraoui's stats there. Would he still have the high stats if he come to the Premier League? That's the thing. A lot of people out there talk about the German league. Our fingers have been burnt many times with buying players from over there. So
yeah, but I think many teams have been burnt by buying German players. From German sides and that, playing in the Bundesliga. I'm not too sure about this player. I don't think he'll reach the heights of Wan-Bissaka, and that's why I'm just not convinced about it. Yes, decent player. Some of the stats prove one thing, and then like you've just said, the stats there about his injury, that has to be a concern. But the way Manchester United look into these transfers, the way they go about it, obviously the suits and the new coaches and everything, and the way it's all run, they look at it differently, they work differently. So I think they've got no worries about it, but it should still be a concern going forward. This is a faster league, it's a tougher league, so you just never know. But like I say,
it's interesting as well to actually know the facts of whether Wan-Bissaka actually wants to leave himself.
Yeah, I'm basing everything on how I see Wan-Bissaka, the way I see him interact on the pitch, off the pitch, everything like that. We know he goes back to London on a regular basis. I mean, he's even been arrested for driving, disqualified and everything. Been arrested going back down to London. That's what he seems to do. So to me, I'm basing it on his personality and everything, and the way this deal, the talk of the transfer has been going on for a long time. I think it's Wan-Bissaka's camp.
Yeah, moving on to Scott McTominay. And yes, Sky Sports are reporting that Fulham are plotting an improved offer for Scott after they get the deal done for Emil Smith-Rowe.
It will not stop the Scott McTominay transfer stories. It just won't go away. Fulham just bought somebody there, upgraded the stadium, want to improve. Thought at times Fulham were a decent side, and I think they're going to start sticking the money in and getting that squad stronger. And Scott McTominay, to be quite honest with you, I think is a perfect fit for Fulham. He can be used in different positions depending on the type of game, what's being played. If they're under under attack, then they have to defend, and Scott would be an ideal player there. And going forward, breakaways and all that, Scott's there. I think he would be ideal for them. I don't want Scott to go. I think he's a really good asset to United. So at the end of the day, good squad player, in my opinion. He's needed at Man United. He puts goals. Well, he gets the goals. And some of them goals have been really, really important for Manchester United. I think United really should hang on to him.
Yeah, I got a quote up what Erik Ten Hag said recently as well. And he said, if you score 10 goals in a season and perform very well for Scotland, there will be interest. We want to actually keep him because he's a very important player for us. And he said that recently, Ten Hag.
Yeah, well, you know, scoring goals and that, anyone who scores goals will be interest to other teams and that. But he likes him. He wants to keep him. That there, and I've heard him talk about Scott McTominay before. I think he really likes him and wants to keep him. And I think it'll be a shame. My personal opinion, I think it'll be a shame. And clearly, Erik Ten Hag speaks highly of him and wants to keep him.
When you're talking about attributes and assets that he's got, for me, and I've said it before and still believe it, he's the best player we've got in our squad who can defend set pieces. I thought him and Varane over the last 2-3 years or so have been our best two players at defending set pieces. So we've already lost Varane. I know we've brought Euro in, who's got some height. But if you're losing Scott McTominay as well, who's currently the best in our squad at defending set pieces, you're losing the height, you're losing something there.
Yeah,
and you're losing it also in the attacking third at set pieces as well.
Yeah, but I've got to also turn around because there's plenty of people we've discussed with out there about he's too slow at times. As the game wears on, if he starts a game, he gets turned. He's not quick enough to get back. As the game he seems to like tire out and then sort of like he's out of the game. But if he's out of the game and he's staying at the back, then he can do a defensive job. But he doesn't seem to be able to play regular for 90 minutes at the pace Man United are at, because anyone who's playing Man United, they're always coming at him. That's how it seems to me. But he gets turned and gets turned quite easily at times. Sometimes he loses the ball easily, but then sometimes you just see him and he's just pinging balls.
I think he found something though, Ten Hag, last season when he was bringing him on for the let's say the last 20 minutes. He was posing a real threat. Going forward, not like just in the midfield area, defensive area, but going forward. And, you know, as we know now, we can use like 5 substitutes and it's a game of 2 halves, as the saying goes.
Yeah.
And in them last 20 minutes, you do need a plan B. And I think he gives you that as well.
Yeah, you've got to look at him with the strength and the energy with 20 minutes to go. Other teams sort of like tiring and that. And then when you bring on someone as tall and big and strong as Scott McTominay, he will be a threat. So Erik Ten Hag uses him as that. You know, doesn't always start him, doesn't always like put him on the bench and that, but he's using Scott McTominay in the right way and he's using him in the squad. And that's why I like Scott McTominay, because he's a very, very useful player being a member of the squad.
What sort of transfer fee would you be looking at where you'd expect like for Manchester United to accept it? For me, it can't be any less than 30 million, surely. And you've got to think as well with the financial regulations as well, that'd be 100% profit as well.
Yeah, I look at him, Scottish international, scores goals for them, scores goals for us. Excellent. What can I say? 30 million? I think 30 million, £5 million add-ons. I see that as reasonable. I don't see it over the top. I don't see it too low. I think if we got 30 million and 5 million add-ons, then, you know, you have to take it, especially in this market. It's not the greatest of market. I mean, it is a frustrating transfer market, to be honest with you. And if you look now, I did say there'd be a frenzy, but I think there's going to be more of a frenzy with a week or two to go. I'm just being frustrated by it, and I see everyone out there, and I'm speaking to people, they're just getting frustrated that nothing's being done. But more frustration from the fact is we're not able to sell players, and this is part of like the Wan-Bissaka scenario, which is frustrating. The games are being played, and who's the chicken here? Yeah. That's how I see it.
Yeah, with all the transfer fees now, you've heard Sir Jim Ratcliffe talk about it doesn't like the red tape whatsoever, the PSR rules, all that kind of stuff. And I think what went on with Everton, with their points deductions, the clubs are looking at the money a lot more tightly. and whether to spend it and just be a bit more cautious with it.
Yeah, they are being more cautious with it, but you've got to look at Man United on the other flip side of it, that they're not being cautious. What they're doing is they're protecting things if things go wrong. They're out there. They've got people in different positions, not one, but two people in the same position, ready. They've already talked to these people. So they're ready if something breaks down. So when I say frenzy, yes, it's a frenzy when people are changing clubs and all that, but it's late. I mean, we need them now, really. I thought things would be getting done. But United are doing the right thing. They've got the right policy. They're talking to players. They're agreeing terms with them. So at the end of the day, if things fall down, we've got somebody to go for, to bring in.
Yeah, the only problem is, though, you're agreeing terms, it's a good sign.
Yeah.
But the longer you leave it in the transfer window, the selling club is less likely to sell unless a huge fee then comes in, instead of getting the agreement done earlier with a transfer fee. Because how many times have we been burnt again through having to do that season after season in the transfer window?
Well, this is the last scenario we want to see as fans. The desperate stakes buy at the end, because they very, very rarely work out long term. They might work out for short term, 6 months, 9 months, and then things go a bit pear-shaped. So at the end of the day, we don't want to see that. So Jim Ratcliffe, Ineos, promised us change. So at the end of the day, they're working on it. They seem to have the right strategy at the moment. But we all know as fans that within the next 2 weeks, this can turn into carnage, from frustration to anger.
Yeah, I did see a report earlier on. Galatasaray had made a bid for Scott McTominay. I think it was around about €15 million, I might just say, in that article there. But again, for me personally, no less than 30 million for Scott McTominay.
Yeah, I've seen Galatasaray sort of being mentioned on a few transfer stories, and this here to me is a no-no. 15 million. I just think they're just getting the name out there, to be honest with you. 15 million. You wouldn't even phone them back, to be honest with you.
No,
you wouldn't. You wouldn't even pick the phone up.
No,
and say, "Hey, sling it."
Yeah. If you've seen the name come up on the screen there, you just have a laugh around the office, wouldn't you? Like, it's them again.
Yeah, it's them again.
It's them again.
It's them again. You just wouldn't waste your time with them. 15 million. Yeah. It's an insult.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about the report. I'd believe it a little bit more if it was from Ornstein or Romano, but the report's coming out from over there in Turkey, so maybe it's just about getting the name out there, like you say.
Yeah, yes, I think that's what it is, because they've been sort of associated to different players, but early on in the transfer season, when really you wouldn't expect anything to get done. Yeah. So they're out there putting the name out. Listen,
just to go off the actual subject of transfers now, Lenny Yoro and Højlund, be interesting to see what goes on with their injury condition, because a lot of reports over the last couple of days with Yoro, I've seen one or two saying he could be out for a couple of months.
Yeah, I'm hoping tonight, but by tonight at the latest, we get it cleared up, because it is a massive worry. They've had scans by all accounts. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. It's just reports. But at the end of the day, the longer this goes without knowing that they're back in light training or ready to, get back in there, or they'll be all right when they come back to Manchester after the tour. We'll just leave them for now. But it is a worry. Lenny Yoro, what a massive blow if that kid suffers it. And I have to go back to last year with Malacia. What a massive blow for that kid. But Højlund, you look at it and think, reports there that he stubbed his feet with his studs into the grass. The grass was a little bit long. As that played a part to it? You just hope that these two, the reports come out tonight, that there is no long-term worry about it, and they'll get back on the pitch as soon as. But, fingers crossed.
Just going to go into the chat. Ansel, cheers for your super chat. He said, we should be pushing for 40 million if Emil Smith-Rowe is worth 34, means Scott McTominay.
Yeah, there's a shout for that. There is a shout. They've set a little bar there, and the price they've paid for Rowe amazed me, really, to be honest with you. I think they've got absolutely fantastic money, Arsenal, for that deal. I think it's one of the best deals, money-wise, up to now. So if they're willing to pay that, then maybe United.
Because really, you look at Arsenal, don't get me wrong, I don't watch them every single week, but surely he plays where Martinelli is and Trossard as well. So you look at that, there was no way of him getting into the first team next season unless it's like the early rounds of the Carabao Cup maybe, or he just has an upturn in form. But it's probably a good move for the player as well. That.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent move for the player, but also excellent for Arsenal. They've got fantastic money out of it. If you look at the Scott McTominay saga, it's been a couple of inquiries from all the accounts from the stories that they've looked at McTominay. So really, they should be prepared to pay good money. Yeah. And like I say, if we get 30 million plus 5 million add-ons, to be honest, I'm not going to argue over that, but don't be surprised. And I wouldn't be surprised at 40 million compared to the fee they've just paid out.
Yeah, just like to thank you all for joining us today to go through a bit of transfer news. Get involved in the chat, everyone, with your own opinions. We will be back tomorrow with another video. If you want to help support us, smash a like on the video, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.